We are ready now to talk to our guest today, Seamus Bruner, Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. Thank you so much for joining me. As I said earlier before we got cut off, lots of theories going around, but a lot of folks are finding it hard to believe that this guy achieved such a gruesome, terrible assassination and did it all on his own.
The timeline is kind of unsettling. It's, last week, on the day that Charlie was assassinated, this group, Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, scrubbed its entire social media presence. It took its Twitter and its Instagram offline, and now it's hard to find anything on the group and its founder. Now, fortunately, we started archiving everything, getting screenshots, screen recordings of everything. And then just a couple of days after the assassination, it was reported by the New York Post that this group was now under FBI investigation. So what is the Armed Queer? And by the way, I'll say right from the outset, there is no evidence that they played a role or had anything to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination, but it is odd behavior to start scrubbing your social media before anybody starts asking any questions. And now that the FBI is investigating, the link, everybody's wondering what is the link, if anything. So we started digging into the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City and found that separate and apart from the Charlie Kirk assassination, this group is very sketchy, deserves to be investigated. It traveled to Cuba down to get revolutionary Marxist training from a group that is backed by Neville Roy Singham, who we've known. Peter Schweizer covered him in his book BloodMoney a couple of years back. Neville Roy Singham lives in Shanghai. He's very close with the CCP, and he has been fomenting unrest in our country in a number of ways, from the BLM riots 5 years ago to the more recent anti-ICE riots out in Los Angeles. He paid for pro-Hamas riots in New York City on October 8th a couple of years back. And he funds all kinds of other stuff. So back to the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. It is run by this individual named Ermaya Fanayan, and he is a male-to-female transgender who leads this group, also involved with a number of other left-wing groups. The ACLU, the DNC, actually, is a Democrat Party operative, or he formerly was. He also was involved with this group, the Utah Global Diplomacy Project. That group just got its funding yanked because of its association with this individual. So, still unclear if they have anything to do with the Charlie Kirk assassination, but separate from that, they totally need to be investigated for their revolutionary activities.
Now, you said that the FBI is investigating. Has anyone from the FBI reached out to you or Peter Schweizer to collaborate on anything that has been uncovered so far?
Not on this specific matter, but we do know people who've talked with them, and they say they're still investigating. They're kind of keeping cards close to the vest. I do, again, want to caution people. There is not a direct link to the Kirk assassination, but nonetheless, this group's ties to Neville Roy Singham. He's in the news actually this week as Chairman James Comer of the Oversight Project and Representative Anna Paulina Luna have signed a letter to Treasury saying freeze or seize all of Neville Roy Singham's assets. He's also been recommended to U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro for potential Foreign Agents Registration Act violations, FARA, given his close ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
And you said that they began scrubbing their websites and postings immediately after this happened. I believe wasn't there another similar group that had done this the day before, or am I thinking of the same one?
No, that's the same group. It may have started before. I mean, it was so close, and there's a lot of social media that we can't find, but it spidered out where the individual members started to scrub their social media. And I, again, don't want to imply that they had something to do with the Kirk assassination necessarily. They may, it's possible they trained, together and didn't know about the assassination. And so if they knew about it, you would think that they wouldn't have any social media presence at all prior to. So, that's just worth noting. Now, they do have links to another group. First of all, the Socialist Rifle Association, the SRA, they have trained together. They appear on literature together. The Socialist Rifle Association, it wants to think of itself as a left-wing NRA. They're an extremely dangerous group, Marxist, seeking to overthrow the United States of America and rebuild some socialist utopia. And they have individuals who have been linked to left-wing violence. And then as well as the John Brown Gun Club of Elm Fork specifically, one of their members just about a year ago shot, or even more recently, I think this year, was involved in the shooting of an ICE agent. And so these groups, whether it's the John Brown Gun Club or the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City or the Socialist Rifle Association, they clearly believe in using violence to achieve political outcomes. They are in the category of Antifa, and applaud Donald Trump for taking this matter seriously. With the RICO investigations and talk of really cracking down on Antifa.
What do you make of that and the timing of it? I mean, the former administration was very quick to investigate parents showing up at school board meetings as domestic terrorists, quick to investigate Catholics who take mass as domestic terrorists. But some people are criticizing Trump over the amount of time it took him to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, he talked about doing it in the first term. I mean, he's been talking about doing it for a very long time. The thing about designating domestic groups as terrorists is conservatives don't usually want to do that. They don't want to resort to using a nebulous term like terrorist for groups that should, exercise free speech. Or, I mean, you see it happen to us. So, the conservatives are very, sensitive towards in slippery slope type argument. Then it can just be turned against us. And so it's not something that you want to do lightly. However, in this case, especially after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and it's not even that anybody from these groups necessarily coordinated with the shooter, it's the reaction afterward. We are now seeing how widespread it is among the political left that they believe that using violence to achieve political outcomes. Now, a lot of us who've been tracking Antifa for years know that obviously Antifa believes in using violence to achieve political outcomes. But when you see the celebration coming from teachers and people in your own community, people on your friends, so-called friends on social media, celebrating this and encouraging it and saying, well, the only good fascist or a good Nazi is a dead Nazi. It's horrifying stuff. I mean, that goes right along with just the shock of witnessing Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination live, is seeing how many people actually endorse it. And so that's, I think, why we are at this kind of crossroads where Donald Trump is going to have to use drastic measures to crack down on this situation.
What do you make of the conundrum that is the left, that anytime there's any gun violence, they go after the guns and they constantly use those as opportunities to try and push gun legislation? So they take this like firm stance against guns, but at the same time, you never hear any leftist condemn these groups like the armed queers or acknowledge that there is another sect of the left that seems to be diametrically opposed. I mean, you say you're against guns and you're for the LGBTQ mafia, but then these two things are coming together and we're seeing a string of violent behavior from this group using guns.
Yeah, well, if double standards, if there weren't for double standards, they wouldn't have any. And it's completely hypocritical because you look at this Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, Ermaya Fanayan, the leader or the organizer behind it, that person used to be a representative for March for Our Lives or Every Town for Gun Safety, the David Hogg organization. So this person, Fanayan, previously was a gun control advocate, and then goes and sets up Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. They had a other group called Pink Pistols that was about arming LGBTQ people. And so, they actually, they're not against gun control, or, they're not against guns. They just don't want their perceived opponents to have them. So all of the talk of gun control, you've kind of noticed it disappear because nobody's giving up their guns, not in this political environment, not when someone as gentle and as peaceful as Charlie Kirk is going to get shot in front of everyone in like just a brutal execution style. And then, of course, I mean, we had before that the slashing of the beautiful young woman on public transit in North Carolina. So gun control talk has pretty much disappeared because nobody's going to give up their guns. And so I guess they're going to arm up. But right-wing people are no threat to the left-wing people. Not usually, not normally. You just look, there was a poll done this past week by YouGov, a leaning left pollster, that says people who identify as mostly liberal, 1 in 4 believe that some form of violence is acceptable against their political opponents. That's a shocking number. 1 in 4 people who are very liberal. For conservatives, it was 3 out of 100. So just 3% of people who are very conservative. That's still too many, obviously. Nobody should think that you should use violence against your political opponent, but it's completely mismatched. And so having these groups out there that are kind of maybe reckless, I'm not sure, is a little alarming. Nobody's going to give up their guns, though.
What's really sad is that the propaganda operation is so good sometimes that even those of us that are aware of it, myself clearly aware of it because I spent so long in legacy media, if you will, and, was faced with it and left. But I found it opened my eyes, the situation opened my eyes that even I had been a victim of the propaganda about Charlie Kirk. Because, since I left legacy media, I've continued to take pride in the fact that I'm an independent. No, I'm not a Republican. Definitely not a Democrat, because they are just so off the wall. But when people would ask me, oh, what about Charlie Kirk? I'm like, oh, no, I don't know that I agree with him. I think he's a little bit too, GOP, too on the right. But I've been forced, like so many, well, not forced, but I've wanted to listen to now hours of his talks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was wrong on this too. He's actually very moderate and reasonable. I just allowed myself to think oh, wait, he's a little bit too far right for me. And I'm like, it's shocking. Man, me of all people that should know how this works, I allowed it to seep in a bit. I feel awful about that, but I was just watching more of Charlie Kirk today, and he was having a debate with someone that was like, oh no, the Democrats are for the middle class, and he just spit out all these facts about all these billionaire people and how basically all of them are Democrats and on left. So he's like, they are protecting the oligarchy. You are hard pressed to name people on the right that have amassed this amount of money, like Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and so many other names. He had the numbers and everything. It was incredible. All this to say that I know there's the book Controligarchs, exposing the billionaire class. And so tell me about that, about how, at the end of the day, it isn't really about left versus right or Republican versus Democrats. It's really about and become normal people against the elite.
Yeah, it's all about control. That was really the thesis of the book. And the research began several years ago after the pandemic, which was clearly an event that was used to take control of so many facets of society. And you see, on the left there, you have Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. I mean, they're sort of in disarray, but they're about to get new leadership with Larry Fink of BlackRock. And so the book goes through chapter by chapter, the various industries that these individuals are seeking to and largely do control. It begins in, with the good club, as I call them. There was a meeting with George Soros, Bill Gates at Rockefeller University in New York in May 2009. And they're all getting together, and the context is Barack Obama has just been elected. Oprah Winfrey was there. They all spent enormous resources getting him elected. And so they are getting together, kind of a secret club meeting to decide the future of humanity, or at least how they want to use this opportunity with Barack Obama. And they all agree the number one problem facing humanity is overpopulation, which was kind of shocking. You'd think it'd be any number of other things, but these people are, a lot of them. Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, was there. He believes the Earth's population should be down a quarter of what it is now, maybe a billion people. So Bill Gates has talked about overpopulation as a huge concern. So it really starts with these guys are Malthusian. They're kind of they don't want as many people breathing their air. They don't like people that much, it would seem. And so they set out a plan for lowering the Earth's population. They've failed, obviously, because it keeps growing. But climate change was a major thing that came out of this. They think if you decrease the energy, and then Bill Gates's pivot to global health and vaccines, there's no evidence that I found, or at least put in the book, that his vaccines are killing people en masse, but a lot of people believe they are. And it's just a little suspicious and perhaps ironic that a man who claims to want to save people simultaneously thinks that there should be less of us. It goes through the war on farmers, Bill Gates' attempt to take over farms. He's pretty far along with that. All of his fake foods, fake meats, fake milk. I just saw a new company, fake butter, that they're using carbon to create butter. It doesn't seem like that would taste very good. And then it gets sort of the controlling the main things, agriculture, and into controlling the money. There's a big chapter on BlackRock in there. Larry Fink's central bank digital currencies and how digital ID plays a role in that. And then into the more really sinister stuff, moving into the future with transhumanism and the ambitions to merge man with machine. So it's a delightful book.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, I live here in Texas, so they better leave my butter on the biscuits alone. I got like my real raw butter. I go to the farmer's market every Saturday, pick up my raw goat's milk. So yeah, they better leave that alone. Man, what do you make, just to wrap up, just final question. What do you make?
By the way, one of the solutions is I put in the end is go to your farmer's market, support your local farmer. So good for you.
Thank you. I love doing it. I enjoy it. I'm so thankful I live here in Texas and live so close to one. But to wrap up, as I said, because you're exposing people like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, many are upset or feel icky, want to take a shower after seeing President Trump flanked by these two guys recently. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I too feel icky after seeing that. Unfortunate, but Donald Trump has always been a peacemaker. I don't, we'll see how it plays out. I think they're just saying whatever it takes to cozy up to him. You do need. They're powerful people, so having them against you and against your agenda is going to be a big problem. I do think that Bill Gates recently announced, or it was reported by the New York Times that an internal memo went out that he was ceasing the foundation's funding to the Arabella Network, and the Arabella Network, for those who know is or don't know, is one of the most sinister forces in politics. It funds everything from radical protests to all the rest, to get out the vote, especially huge ballot harvesting operations, etc. So that Bill Gates is yanking his funding. He was one of the biggest funders, hundreds of millions of dollars to the Arabella Network. So if concessions can be extracted, I support those. I think a lot of these guys think in a longer time span than just Trump's administration, and they're thinking far into the future. They don't want to be regulated. They don't want to be busted up like with antitrust. They've got concerns in front of the FCC and FTC. So we'll see how it shakes out. But my opinion is you should be turning screws on them, not inviting them to dinner.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we agree on that. Seamus, I love the name of your book, Controligarchs. I just love plays on words, and it cuts right straight to the chase of what you're exposing. Where's the best place to pick it up?
Well, don't buy it from Amazon. No, it is there. I know the irony is there, but if you want to support local retailers, or independent retailers. It's in bookstores. You can also get it. There's I think it's indiebook.com, but on the website, Controligarchsbook.com, I list the places that you can buy it. And, none of them are good. Barnes and Noble's got, and Books A Million have got BlackRock ownership, but there's a few spots there. And of course, if you have to buy it from Amazon, I understand.
Understood. Well, thank you so much, Seamus, and I hope folks pick up the book. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Kristi.